Good afternoon. The first video of 2021 featuring on Twins Tuesday, the lovely new 2021 catalogue release from Corgi, the Blenheim IV, representing the aircraft with the Aircraft Restoration Company at Duxford. The Spirit of Britain First, which represents an aircraft which was a flyer in the early to mid 90s. And then its cousin, the Blenheim I nightfighter from the Operation Training Unit number 54 training unit from the summer of 1941. And finally, the most recent Doolittle Raider released by Corgi, Harry Carrier. So let's get stuck in and let's start with a brand new one, the Blenheim IV. So the Bristol Blenheim IV, or to be precise, it's actually a Bolingbroke, but let's not get too fancy. And this represents the second scheme this aircraft wore, and it was Golf Bravo Papa Indigo Victor Z5722, and this represents the Mark IV-F nightfighter of number 68 Squadron, but this is actually the one based at Duxford Airfield in 1993. So those who don't know, the Blenheim IV, which was then owned by the Blenheim Society, first flew in 1987, and just a month after such a meticulous restoration, it did a touch and go at an airfield in Buckinghamshire, and I believe the engines were flooded as the pilot tried to give it more power to take off, and consequently it stalled and basically cartwheeled down the airfield. And that actually, at the time, had a very young John Romain in it. Unfortunately, for all of us and the warbird community, he survived that ordeal and played a part in obviously putting the Blenheim back into the air again. And this aircraft here was the scheme it flew in 1993 at Duxford. And the Spirit of Britain First, not to be associated with the horrible organisation, may I add. And this is one I remember as a kid doing the rounds of the air shows, and I believe it's one of 3 schemes the aircraft wore until it's again had another unfortunate accident in late 2003 when attempting to land at Duxford. It was short on fuel and ended up hitting the bump and sliding along the runway, and unfortunately taking it off the display season for nearly 11 years. But she then flew again in November 2014 in the guise of a Mark I, obviously not this scheme here, but that is available by Corgi. It's one I'm yet to get, but I know Gary has. So you've now got the history of the Duxford Blenheim in all its schemes, because you can get the original scheme. I think it was DUX on the side, might be wrong. I know I've got a couple of them in fact in the shed, and I'm sure I've done a review on them before. This one, and of course the Mark I guys as well. So, and actually talking about John Romain, for those who follow the warbird community, he's just been awarded an MBE as due to obviously all the work he did with the NHS Spitfire, which I'm sure you'll agree is thoroughly deserved. So well done, John. Fantastic news for everybody involved, and obviously such a great thing he did to raise money as well for the NHS during this pandemic. So let's have a look around this. So again, the Mark IV, obviously known for its longer nose. This nose of this particular aircraft is in hangar 3, I think, at Duxford. So it still can be set. I don't know whether you can just sort of take this off and put on a Mark I nose, or if it's interchangeable or not. I guess there's a lot more to it than that. I'm not the expert. I'll have to ask Matt, who used to work at Arco, because he'll have a good idea. But I'm pretty certain that it's, you know, a 6 to 9 month process in order to do that, maybe a little bit longer. So it's not the sort of thing you can just take one nose off and put another one on. But of course, the original one, the Mark I here, was part of a car which they pretty much took to pieces and used as the basis of the cockpit. But this is the first release from Corgi's 2021 category, along with the Lancaster, which is really quite lovely with the yellow tips and the yellow tail. Yet to join the collection, but I know obviously Jason has got that already, and a few other people. Not seen lots and lots of pictures of it, but certainly one on the agenda to get. But this is incredible. Lovely finish. I don't think you can go wrong with a nightfighter. You know, we're talking about themes. Lots of people have nightfighters as their themes. I've got pretty much all of them now, including all the Defiants, Mosquitoes, as well as obviously a German contingent of nightfighters as well, including the ME-110s, the ME-262s, the Dorniers, the JU-88. So I've got a nice couple of shelves there to be dedicated to nightfighters if I wish. But this is an aircraft, like I said, that, you know, for me, I'm really big on the flyers. It's, you know, something you go to air shows and see. let's hope this pandemic can be out of the way soon so we can actually get back onto airfields and see these beautiful aircraft flying again. You know, fingers crossed that will be the case this summer. But yeah, it's part of my childhood. I remember seeing this, I believe, part of me says it was at Milton Hall one year, certainly at the Westmoreland shows, and I remember it in its all black scheme. Yet to go into a desert scheme, I don't think. I know it went into a green and brown scheme after this, the one that it eventually had its demise in. But yeah, great looking bit of kit, real clean lines, great finish. I think Corgi had done a tremendous job on this. You know, it's well worth adding to your collections, and it's probably one of about 8 or so Blenheims that I now have, and will, you know, be the centerpiece of that collection. So great job, Corgi. Long may they continue. So the second one is quite a rare breed now, this one, and that is the Mark I night fighting Blenheim. To give you a bit of a quick walk around, you can see the aerials there, or the AI as it's known, the airborne interceptor or interception radio mast. So you've got one on the front as well. This particular aircraft was one of the first batch of bombers off of the production line in 1936 as a Mark I bomber, and it was later converted into a fighter in late 1938. And the Blenheim in this original early guise wasn't a particularly successful aircraft, whether it be as a fighter or a bomber. In fact, it was pretty much like lambs to the slaughter. If they were sent on to obviously the Low Countries in the British expedition, the BEF, let's say, and they weren't very successful at all. They were slaughtered, but it did eventually find a home as a pretty formidable night fighter. Obviously, that was surpassed later in sort of the early 1940s with, you know, the Bow fighter, you know, Defiant to a degree, and of course the Mosquito eventually. But it did a really sterling job. And this aircraft was actually withdrawn from frontline service in early 1941 and ended up at 54 Operation Training Unit RAF at Church Fenton in Yorkshire, which still exists. There used to be an air show there a few years back, and was used obviously for training pilots in this form of combat. And this aircraft here, like I said, is one I've been after for a long time, and I've never managed to get hold of. But it's beautiful, and it makes a great pairing with the Mark IV. Obviously the difference is, of course, with the nose and the extra aerial for the airborne interception technique, but the rings around the engine, obviously in this one, are bronze, and actually on the Mark IV they're silver, although in the artwork is shown as bronze. So clearly something they found further down the line in the sort of research as they were getting it ready. But great looking aircraft, like I said, will be a nice part of your night fighting collection. So some of the Corgi night fighters you can get, of course, you can get the Spitfire 5. You can get there's a few Hurricanes. There's one obviously with cannons and the standard normal Hurricane. You've also got the Defiance. There's a couple of Defiance, one with a shark mouth, one without. And of course you've got the all black Mosquito plus the various other ones on there as well. So it will make a nice part of that collection on that shelf. But like I said, if you see one of these, snap them up. They're a future, well, I say a future classic, they're a classic already. So the final twin engined aircraft, completely not related to the first two, is the third, I guess final Doolittle Raider, and that's Harry Carrier. So this follows the Doolittle Raider and of course Ruptured Duck to complete the trio. And this is one of the 16 aircraft that took off from the USS Hornet on the 18th of April 1942 to go on that iconic raid as a little bit of sort of comeuppance for the Japanese after the raid on Pearl Harbor. So this aircraft, as you can see, if I walk you around it, doesn't have the yellow tips, which is a really good bit of research from Corgi's part, because none of them did. And also the guns have been removed from the nose in order to add a little bit of less weight, but it still kept its top turret and its tail turret. And this aircraft in particular was slightly off course when he went flying over into Japan, and he inadvertently went over an enemy airfield, scrambling some Zero fighters, and the rear gunner actually shot down one and severely damaged another on its way to an oil refinery. And then the pilot, I believe his name was something Greenwood, Greening, Ross Greening, dropped his bombs on the oil refinery and then headed northwest to China. So as part of this, there was no sort of set airfields for him to land on. It was pretty much every man for himself. So Thankfully, they managed to get over 200 miles inland into China before bailing out, and all of the air crew survived. And the aircraft flew on for a little longer before sort of perishing into the mountains. But all the pilot and all of his crew survived and lived to tell the tale. So one of the rare ones that managed to get through that. So if we look at the detail, the green panel at the front there suggests that there was some artwork or name that was removed, but of course you've got the artwork on the side as well. And of course the great thing as well with these, you get the crew ladder and the stall in order to get into the ladder as well. So add a little bit of extra detail on it. So really nice looking aircraft. One I didn't get near at the time when it was released, wasn't really that interested, but this actually completes my trio now. Although technically Air Force One do have a fourth example which you can get as well, which is a plain aircraft. It hasn't got any decals on the front, obviously, to determine which aircraft it is, and that's one to get further down the line, but it's as rare as hen's teeth at the moment, so I'll leave that for the time being. But there you go. So that concludes today's video. Lots going on around here at the moment. If I can show you current status of the man cave, as you can see, we are waiting on the doors and the windows to be fitted, so there's going to be a few weeks yet, so I'm going to leave that for the time being until I'll give you updates. But I've started planning out how I want it to look in terms of the number of cabinets, etc. So once that starts, I'll be giving you a good walk around and doing some live videos and whatnot. And there's going to be lots and lots of work for me to do in order to get them all out as well. As ever, thank you for all your support. Hope you've enjoyed the launch of the Corgi catalogue at the start of the month. Really exciting time, especially if you're a Warbird fan and of course a 148 jet fan. Some great news in terms of the release of the Typhoon and whatnot. We did actually record a video of 6 of us talking as a panel around the releases of the Corgi catalogue. But it unfortunately recorded all the visual, but no audio to be seen. So unfortunately we can't share that with you. If we do get a chance to do it again, we will do, but it's obviously trying to get 6 diaries to all sort of collide together is quite considerable. So thanks to the lads, obviously, for spending the time doing that. Unfortunately, like I said, we can't share it with you unless you can lip read. But yes, so anything you would like us to see covered, please drop us a message either through Instagram or through Facebook, sorry. That would be great. And like I said, I'm sure we can dig some stuff out. If you're after Tomcats, Dan is your man. He's got more Tomcats than the US Navy had, I think, at this point. So like I said, if there's anything you fancy seeing either pictorial or videoed, then like I said, let us know and I'll see what we can do. Look, again, thank you for following us. Thanks for all the love. Apologies as ever for not having the time to get videos done. But as you can imagine, lots going on at the moment in the world, so there's bigger priorities. But like I said, if we get chances, we'll do more live events as well. Like I said, it's entirely up to you. Whatever you fancy, let us know and we'll see what we can do. But now, thanks for following and we'll speak to you soon.